Hey everyone, I'm going to do a little bit of pre-E3 Halo Infinite speedrunning predictions. And I thought I'd make this video because I can see it going one of several ways. The most interesting being that it looks like it might be an open world game. Maybe some parts of it won't be, which I'll get into. But also because we are now in a part of the gaming industry where it's patch central, right? The game will not be complete on launch despite its year of delay, but who knows, maybe the essential features will be there. But more importantly, with multiplayer and just devs supporting the game after release, I think there will be some patches, and that could have some impacts on the speedrun as well, just knowing my experience with Halo 5. So I'm going to give a brief overview of what's happened in Halo 5. The 1.0 version of the game, you have a shorter revive time that you can get revived. That's not too important, except for maybe legendary. More importantly, there was no in-game timer at launch. Now, I think 343 will have some sort of timer at launch. It's possible it won't be visible. In fact, it might even be probable that it's not visible because it's an open world environment, or at least right now it looks to be an open world environment. And a timer might clutter it up, but hey, if they decide they want to give you an option to start the game with like score attack in mind, well then maybe they'll have the option, but it's possible it won't. If it won't, but they still have a timing system at all, we still might not time RTA, because I think that's another possibility. But like, let's say there's a post-Carnage report after the campaign. I don't know what other sections it would stop at if it's not typical, linear level design like previous parts. But I expect they're gonna have it in because one, people are gonna want to know that. Two, I think the typical playthrough of this game will be multi-day. Like, not everyone is, the teenager, college student, or just kid with all the time on their hands, and just wants to play 7 to 8 or maybe more hours all at once. So during play testing, I'm quite confident they're going to be like, okay, well, if we have any sort of timer, at least at the end, it's got to have to work if you save and quit, if you pause for a day. And this is actually kind of important because in Halo 5, even on the patched version, the timer does not like to work if you are offline. And I know this because I used to be a mid-patch Halo 5 easy runner, and with most of the things the same, it's just something with the grenade physics I didn't like. But anyway, even though I was mostly patched, because I was offline to avoid getting an update notification, my post-game Carnage report would never work. And I suspect a similar issue would pop up in playtesting for Halo Infinite if they did, multi-game playthroughs. I really don't think they're going to have interns and game devs testing Halo Infinite, completing the story for the entirety of their workday and just say, hey, what went right, what went wrong. No, I think they're going to do multiple playthroughs. An issue like that will come up, and so I think that'll be fine. I think that'll be fixed. If there is a timer that shows at the end of your normal campaign, I think it'll work with minimal bugs, at least in terms of it showing up at all, Okay, the other issue is that given the cutscene that we were shown last year, where it seems to be at the beginning of a open world segment, there will probably be some gameplay before that. I really don't think they're going to show us that trailer from 2 years ago with the Pelican and Broham or whatever. Then the Covenant comes knocking on the door, and then suddenly they're careening onto the Halo ring with no gameplay. So there might be semi-linear gameplay before that. They may track in-game time during then too. Not sure how we'll work with that. Now, why am I focusing so much on the in-game timer? Well, that's because I don't think RTA is going to be viable at all. Because this is going to be a generation where it launches on PC. It's going to launch on the base Xbox One, although they really shouldn't, I think. But and then, of course, Series X and S, which all have different load times, or they will. So if there's cutscenes, especially if they do that darn unskippable cutscene nonsense like they did in Halo 5, loading times of either the, your hard drive or just the Xbox's hard drive or SSD is really going to impact RTA timing. So it's either not going to work at all, or they're going to time it like how we currently do Halo 5 1.0, where we remove freezes, and that's going to be a pain in the ass, if I'm honest. So I'm really hoping they can get some sort of in-game time tracker, even if it's behind the scenes. The other thing with patches, I think it might gravitate towards 1.0. I think that's going to be my biggest prediction here. It's going to be 1.0, at least if we're allowing for console competitiveness, because I don't know how easy it is to try to force a mid-patch on console unless you just save it and don't update, but that's not really viable for the long-term health of the game. So, but if the majority of players are on PC and they're like, you know what, this is kind of a PC speedrunning game, perhaps there will be a more advantageous patch, a couple of patches into the game, and the people assure me they can save patches, and we can, I don't know, I guess share it with other people. I'm not really sure how that works, but apparently it's viable given other speedrunning communities. If it doesn't, it's just going to be 1.0, I think. Of course, I don't know how that works in PC digital downloads, but pretty sure it'll be possible. And the reason I don't think it's going to be current patch, well, okay, it could be current patch, but that's a long shot. And the reason for the long shot is because, again, multiplayer glitches. We used to have a glitch in Halo 5 where you could clip out of a warthog into the final fight, and or into the final, I don't know, segment of the game, the final couple minutes, and it skipped like 10 minutes worth of combat, maybe 5. It was necessary, but then someone did it in Halo 5 Warzone to get into a base early, and they just patched it out. And the way the game is set up, I guess the sandbox is not separate, so if they patched it in multiplayer, they patched it in the campaign, and we were screwed. And it was pretty lucky that Distro and Tim Bouton were searching for other out of bounds, and we found something else that worked around that. But let's say we don't get so lucky, we could have a very necessary trick patched out, and just given 343's history, I think we're going to find some sort of glitch that is game breaking in some way, and they're going to patch it. People are not going to keep a lid on it. Even if they don't tell it to 343 directly, it's going to be on YouTube. People will try to make it work in multiplayer, yada, yada, yada. It'll get patched, most likely. So that's why I think it's going to be 1.0 or bust, unless we get really lucky with some mid-patch shenanigans. So that's that. The other thing I'm a little worried about, graphical updates, timer updates, if they decide the timer's not a priority, but maybe they will have it how we like, just in a later patch. Well, that's not going to work if we have to run 1.0 for speedrunning tricks reasons. So that's the biggest thing I'm really worried about for this launch, and actually why I'm happy about the delay. I think it's going to be 1.0 or bust. And if it looks as bad as it did last year, it's not terrible, but clearly it needed some graphical work, and I would hate for that to be what you have to look at every time you speedrun Halo Infinite, is whatever the old graphics are. The other thing that's going to throw a wrench into things, of course, is new DLC expansion. I think this kind of game is going to be ripe for it. Maybe we'll find out more at E3, but it's possible they'll put in expansions, and I don't know how we will handle that with HaloRuns.com for at least full game. It's possible they'll revamp the site, allow for multiple categories, like just main campaigns, all main quests, DLC plus, yada yada. But the way the website works now, and given how many bugs they haven't fixed already, well, there could be trouble there. I expect it's just going to be easy, any percent, and legendary. Any percent is the main categories. I know Goat Rope's confident that we'll be ready to speedrun at launch, but I'm not sure if we'll have complete information on how the game just works, how it's structured. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work, but the Halo Run site admins are gonna have some work on their hands, I think, with that. As far as other predictions is what the speedrun's gonna look like, I think the grapple shot will play a minor role unless 343 gets really creative with their indoor areas, especially if we don't learn how to clip vehicles inside, because it seems like every game that's speedrunnable, you find a way to clip vehicles into places. So right after we get out of the Pelican, you know, Chief finds a Warthog, so already infantry speed is pretty neutered there. So now if we find some major glitch where, like, I don't know, some enemy Banshee does a scripted flip and you can grapple off of it and get launched a million miles an hour, you know, it could still be useful then. But I really think it's going to be a minor role overall. Or perhaps we'll have multiple categories. Maybe we'll implement speedrun.com more, no flying vehicles category, who knows. And that's the other thing. I think the biggest glitch or the biggest time saves we're going to start looking for is how do we get our first Banshee or Wasp, whatever flying vehicle. Because if it is open world and you can, you know, if you're outside of everything, that's going to probably be the fastest way to travel. Even if you have a Warthog, if you have to sidewind up a cliff, it's not going to be very fast. So the other part to that is how can we keep that flying vehicle from despawning? That's probably going to be the first little hiccup. You know, we'll get a vehicle early, we'll park it outside of some objective, and it'll despawn, or we can't clip in. So how do we keep that vehicle sitting there? That's going to be the next challenge, I think. Thirdly, if there are multiple sections of the ring, you can see in the second trailer, in the first campaign gameplay demo, it looks like you pull up a map of the world, and it appears to be partitioned into, I don't know, just different sections of the broken Halo ring with different objectives on the section that you're on. And of course, you'll probably be able to touch some control panel that lets you get to the next one, or I don't know. But maybe we'll find a way to just brute force a vehicle through some invisible barrier in the sky and get through. And if we do, there's going to be some freezes and loads, which is another reason why RTA might not be viable if you're doing, you know, different machines with different freeze times. But who knows, maybe we'll be clever enough to find a way to brute force past freezes like that. And I think that's all the predictions I have for now. It's really just, we will run on patch 1.0. Grapple shot will play a minor role unless we get some explosive speed trick with it. And Halo Run's admins will have a hell of a time trying to figure out how to categorize this game. And who knows, maybe we will find the answers to some of these questions tomorrow.